Good afternoon, Budget Guitarist here. So as promised, I've got some stuff to show you. Got the Boss ME5 and my latest purchase, which was a trade for gear, so it didn't cost me anything really, is my PV Valve King 50 watt. It's a full tube amp and it's the first tube amp I've ever owned, and I'm still just getting used to you know dialing something nice in, but it sounds incredible. Now, I wouldn't say I've completely been converted to tube amp, because I absolutely love the Katana, especially when I use the Tone Studio software. You can get some real nice tones. You can get it sounding like a tube amp. The Katana sounds like it, but the actual PV tube amp, it's difficult. It feels different. It makes the guitar feel different to play. It's quite bizarre, but in a very, very good way. Anyway, get into it then. So I did do a short video on this Boss ME5 pedal, which is this, and I basically just said, yeah, look what I've got. But here it is again. You can see it there. It's a bit of a wildebeest. It's mega heavy, but it's like all Boss products, it's absolutely bulletproof. So I'm going to pop it down on the floor because I don't want to keep it in my hands. It's really heavy, but it's so it isn't, like I mentioned last time, it's not Boss's first ever multi-effects board. There was, I think, one, maybe two models before this one. This may be sort of like the second, third version of Boss's multi-effects pedal, but it's still mega old. It's sort of it's an analog digital hybrid. So the first four effects, so you've got a choice of compression, overdrive or distortion, an EQ pedal where you can set some parameters using the buttons on it, and chorus or flanger. Now those four effects are analog. They're analog circuits, and I'm assuming they're based on Boss's single stomp boxes from that era, so it should be the same circuit inside. I'm hoping it is. I'm kind of thinking it is, because the old Boss stomp boxes, especially the ones that were made in Japan, they're the sought after ones. This ME5 was made in Japan in 1980. I want to say maybe mid 80s or somewhere around that area. Anyway, last pedal though on it is digital, so it's got a digital reverb and digital delay. Now, I'm just not going to use that, not because it's digital, but because the PV's just got its own reverb built in, and it sounds amazing, really nice. So anyway, I've not really set any parameters yet, so I'm just going to go through from compressor, overdrive, EQ, chorus / flanger, and see what I can find. So at the moment, that's my, in fact, it's not a clean sound actually, I'm on the drive channel, so let me, so that's my clean tone coming out the PV, and you can hear that reverb there. It just sounds delightful. Nice. Right, so Boss ME5. First one is compression. So basically what compression is it's a cool little device that, I'll try and explain it as best I can. So it makes everything the same volume, or you can change the volume of the range. So if you was to imagine you play an E chord, some of the strings are low frequency, so they're your lows. Some of the strings are hitting the mid range, and then some of the strings are the higher frequency. So what you're going to hear without compression is those higher frequency strings. They're the ones that are going to really bite and be really prominent, where The lows, as in the bass strings, the bass notes are ever so slightly lower. What the compression does then is you can set the parameter and you can have the, for example, the lows, the mids and the higher range stuff all at the same volume. So if you used to imagine it was the pedal version of a compressor, you'd have a series of dials and one of them would say sort of like low to mid, then you'd have mid and then mid to high, a level, and you just tweak those until it's all sort of the same volume. I think that's my understanding of compression. So when I press the compression pedal on the Boss ME5, what I'm hearing it doing is that's with compression. Without compression, so you can hear the volume slightly drops because I've not messed about with the overall output volume on the pedal, but what you can hear happening is they're all now the same volume. Anyway, that's compression. I'm sorry if I bored you. Next one along then, so is the overdrive slash distortion. So I can either have an overdrive or I can have a distortion. Whatever it's set up for, pedal number 2, overdrive distortion, I think it's more an overdrive effect because it doesn't sound like it's getting full on distorted and out of shape. It's still quite clear sounding without. Yeah, to be fair, I think that is an overdrive, but it's beyond the point of breakup, so it does sound a little bit messy. Anyway, that's the overdrive bit. So the next one is the EQ. So EQ it's a tough one because I don't fully understand it myself, but it's a little bit like the compressor, but you've got way more control over the overall sound. So in its actual an equalizer pedal in its single stomp box pedal mode would have you stomp on and off, but on the top you're going to have lots of little sliders that go up and down. But it starts from the low range frequency all the way up to the highs. So you've got in between, so on a compressor for example, you've got low, mid, high. On an EQ pedal or EQ effect, you've got low, just a bit after low, in between low to middle, a little bit after middle, a little bit after middle, just before high, and then high in terms of the frequency band that you can play about with. Because this is buttons and not dials, I've no idea how to set the EQ. Well, that's EQ as I understand, what it is as a thing for guitar and sound and stuff. So this is without any EQ, and I don't know what the EQ's set at the moment. So there's the clean just with the EQ, without the EQ, sorry. With the EQ activated, that's interesting because that's behaving more like a drive, an overdrive with, however, imagine someone set this up at some point in the 80s and just left it at that. But it sounds more like it's driving it. It reminds me more like the a feature I had on my ME70, which was the solo effect, where it just kicked everything. It didn't necessarily change the tone, but it just made it more present. So if you was like doing the chord bits and it was solo time, you'd hit the solo thing. It wouldn't get overdriven or distorted, but it would just come at you. The sound would just be more in your face. it sounds like that's what the EQ bit's doing. So if I was like, for example, and then I wanted to do a bit of a solo, so I'm going to try to play and switch and get straight into it. So that is only set at the minute at 2 watts, and it's, what's on the volume there? Master volume's just a little bit past 3, and it's properly loud. Anyway, EQ, I think that's what's happening there. Next one then, chorus flanger. I don't know whether it's a chorus or a flanger, but let's I think it's a chorus. It's not doing much of the tone either, but it's, you can definitely hear when it's been activated. It sounds really nice. I do like that. I really do like that chorus. So far, I like what the EQ bit's doing, and I like what the chorus is doing. So I'm just not going to even try to mess with them, because I just don't know how to. I need to figure out the overdrive and distortion bit though, and the compressor, and just figure it out. I did download the PDF for the pedal for the board, but it was only recently I figured out how to actually use it in manual mode, as you know, stomp box mode if you like, rather than trying to program, you know, patches in it and stuff, because it's quite difficult. Anyway, so that's the Boss ME5. I'm going to waffle a little bit now about the Valve King, the main event. So let me get, no, we're good. So everything now is, because I've turned all the pedals off in the board, it's now bypass. So nothing's getting coloured by the ME5. The signal's going guitar through pedal board, bypassed straight into the amp. So I literally don't know where to start. So it's got a lot of cool features in this amp, and it's even more cooler on the back of the amp. So there's all kinds of lines in and lines out, so that you can have, you know, auxiliary in, microphone out, microphone in. It's got a power attenuator, so I can run it at 2 watts, I can run it at 12 watts or 50 watts. But believe me, 2 watts in this room is more than enough. It's insane. So there's that bit. It's also got a switch for the ohms, so it'll do 4, 8, 16 ohms. So I should never damage or destroy a speaker cab or any speaker I'm using, because I can match the ohms with the head. A cool feature. These 2 lights here, these are perfect for me. These are perfect for an absolute tube amp virgin, because what these lights do is they're giving you the health of the tube. So at the minute, tubes 1 and 2 are fine, so it's green. It'll sort of like change from green into amber. When it's red, they need to be replaced, but it's been green. The guy I got it off said it's been green as long as he had it, and it's still green now. So as long as I don't do anything specialist with it, they should stay green for quite a long time. Downside, I guess, I did look at how much these tubes and valves that are in this amp, you know, to buy them, if, you know, they decided to go wrong, they're quite expensive. And it's weird, because it's like a little glass tube with some science in it and wire and things. They're quite expensive. I don't know if you can actually see from the angle, but I didn't know this. So the actual tubes that are in the amp, when you turn it on, they sort of warm up, and then, you know, it all goes green and it's ready to play. They actually glow up inside, like a light bulb almost. And the harder you, so when you really dig in, the brighter they glow. It looks so cool. But I can't actually see them. But to be honest, I don't really want to have my head there looking for those little glowing tubes, because I'm going to really hurt my ears. But anyway, I didn't know it did. I didn't know tube amps did that, but yeah, it's pretty cool. What else can it do? It's got the pretty much standard stuff. So it's got a clean channel with a bright switch. I've got a channel select that'll get me onto the lead channel. The lead channel's got a boost and a gain drive. But at the minute, it's just on. It's just clean. Turn that down a bit. So it's on clean there with a bright. So channel select. So now I'm on the lead. Now this is the one that I really like. So this is almost doing that sort of Hendrix's Stevie Ray Vaughan without anything else. It's just the amp. I tried to sort of like tweak it and find it where it's just at the point where it's breaking up. To my ears anyway, it sounds absolutely insane. And like I said before, the guitar can make that sound no problem with its software, but this feels different. The sound feels different. It's bizarre. It's hard to explain it, to be honest, but I absolutely love it. What a sound. Anyway, so I found something on, you know, the lead channel. I'm not boosting the lead and I'm not adding more gain. In fact, the gain's actually only set at 1. Volume is at 2, bass 2, mid 5, mid's at 4, trebles at in between 7 and 8. And I've got my reverb set about there, but it sounds wow. I'm just hoping that the speaker in the camera phone is, you know, doing it justice. Okay, so reverb. What did I do? There's this weird dial here called damping. I don't know what this does. It was in the middle when I picked it up. I did mess about with it, but I can't really. There is something happening when I adjust it. So it's got, on the left hand side it's got tight, and on the right hand side it's got loose. So it's set in the middle. I can hear it doing something, but in terms of what it's doing is quite. It sounds like it's not doing much. It's just very, you know, mildly shaping it a little bit, but I've got no idea what damping is. And the last bit, so I'm told this is a very cool feature, but I've got no idea what's going on. It's called Vericlass. I think it's Peavy's, because it says Vericlass TM at the end of it. So I think it's a PV amp thing. So on the far left of the dial it's A, and on the far right it's A and B. Now I read the instructions, so when it's all the way at the A, it's in full tube amp. It's got a valve driven preamp. The power amp's got 2 power tubes, and then science, and it comes out. The B bit makes it act and respond more like a solid state amp, so an amp that's not got valves and tubes. So in the middle, so I can hear where it's in full tube mode. And it gets to the middle, then it starts to sound more like a solid state amp. So you're losing that feel. It still sounds the same, but it feels different. So now it's using so it's using tubes, and it's blending in a little bit of how a solid state amp would behave. I don't know if it just does solid state by itself. I'm assuming not, because I think to actually get the sound, the tubes have got to be doing what the tubes are meant to be doing. So I just leave it over at the A, so it's it's just behaving and sounding like a tube amp, because I really like it. Let me turn that down a bit. I think, do I like it? Yes, I absolutely love it. I'm not, let's say, because a lot of people say, you know, the day you play a tube amp is you'll never go back to solid state, but could that be true for me? This is now certainly my #1 go-to amp, but I still love the Boss Katana, because even just by itself, it's got lots of cool features. It's got I think it's like a little 7-inch, 4, maybe 5 watt speaker in there, so you can just use it as is, especially when you're trying to dial in a tone on the Tone Studio, but you don't want it to melt in your face off. You can still hear, you know, as you're messing about with the software and stuff to get this tone, and then once you're happy, plug it in proper and it's in head mode, and you know, giving you loads of really nice sounds. What I am thinking of doing though is, because I don't want to stop using this, and I don't want to, you know, forget about it, because for a long time the Boss Katana has been my dream amp. I've always wanted the head, the Katana head, and it took me ages to grab one, and I was so excited when I got it, because I knew it was going to sound great, and it did sound great. But what I'm thinking of doing now is using an ABY pedal and using them together, if that makes sense. So I can dial in a certain tone on this, mess with the knobs and that, dial in something nice on that, but then using an ABY and running both at the same time in stereo, because I've got 2 speakers and it's got also a stereo input. One of the speakers is going to be tube, the other speaker is going to be Katana, and then I'm going to get that solid state and tube amp meshing up in the middle, and I think it's actually going to sound mega. It's just a case of me finding something workable, a workable sound. Well, I think I'm boring myself now. I am boring myself. I'm going to cut it there. If you stayed this long, thanks. When I do finally get round to get an ABY and I start messing about with the potential stereo possibilities using these two together, that'll be my next video. I'd say this one's going to be the last one for a while, but I'm hoping to get back into it soon. I'm just busy and that's all. But thank you very much for watching.